Hello and welcome to Onset Secrets. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Charlotte.
And Onset Secrets is where we lift the curtain on what life is really like working in film, TV and video production.
Today's guest is Rubina Pabani, who is the head of digital at ITN and is also a podcaster and performer. She's been podcasting on Brown Girls Do It Too for the last 6 years and has now changed it into a live show with her co-host, and they are taking it to Edinburgh Fringe.
Her career journey is really interesting because she's done loads of different jobs in the industry, very squiggly career-wise, like us all, and I think she gives a really good perspective on where the industry is at now and what still needs to further change to make it even better.
Well, welcome, Rubina.
Hello.
My friend and colleague of many years.
Hello.
Well, long time. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
So you're head of short form at ITN, and for people who don't know what that is or what that means, could you sum it up in a short snippet for us?
Yeah, of course. So I am currently on maternity leave, so not really working, but I am head of short form, which has actually just recently changed to head of digital at ITN Productions. And ITN Productions is a factual production company. They make documentaries. They do a lot of like journalistic endeavours, and they own like 4 news channels, or they run 4 news channels, including Channel 4 News, ITV News and Channel 5 News. And I think what's really unique about the building, I think it's probably the only building in the world where 3 newsrooms coexist, one on top of the other, all sharing and pooling resources, but with all these hungry journalists in one building, which is really exciting for me as head of short form and / digital, is because I get to speak to all these journalists, find out their ideas, their access, talk to them about what we should be making, whether that's like a true crime series about a story that people need to know about, or if it's like a hosted, fronted podcast, a bit like this, talking about issues, but they're always in the kind of factual space. So yeah, similar to this. And I pitch to platforms such as Audible, Spotify, the BBC, and I say, this is a really great idea, you should give me the money. And when they give me the money, I then crew up, make it, and then I become the executive producer across it, and I have to just make sure it delivers to time, to budget, with a brilliant production manager who works at ITN too, and we work together.
Amazing.
That feels like a very all-encompassing job. There's a lot there.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of cool because you get to do so much. So you get to pitch an idea, which is fun, generate the idea, pitch the idea, go into the meetings, win the business, which is incredibly satisfying, and then you get the money and you sit with somebody who really knows what they're doing and is like, this is how we can divide up the money and this is how we can make it work. And you watch your idea evolve. The hard bit is then giving your idea to a director or a producer and being like, okay, go and do this because I have to now go and pitch something else. But then it's amazing to watch somebody really talented come in and like craft it and make it their own and then deliver it to you, and all you've got to do is sign it off. That's the dream.
So we always start with something called foot in the palm door, which is thanks.
Love it.
People haven't got the joke, and it's made us sad. Which is, as you know, careers in production are super squiggly. No one has like a linear path. So how you got your foot in the door, like, and how your career trajectory went into this role.
Yeah, so I think I always knew that I wanted to be in media and loved cinema as a kid, loved filmmaking. I had a little HD handycam, would film everything. For presents, I would make people like montage videos of me, lip syncing to music and being like, ridiculous stuff. But in camera editing, like, it's me. Half an hour of just me. But I was always really into making stuff. I was into like putting pictures together with music. Everything was like part of that package, and I learned to edit really young, and it was always something I knew that I had to get involved in. And I found getting into the industry incredibly difficult. I had no contacts, like neither of my parents went to university, so even knowing anyone in the media industry and access to that was just dead. So I went to university and I came back to London, where I'm from, and I just tried to get internships anywhere that I possibly could. And I couldn't get anything for a long time. Like I was working in a biscuit factory at the time when I got a call from the BFI saying, hey, we're crewing up for the London Film Festival, come in for an interview. And after the London Film Festival job, which is just like front of desk job, they gave me a job, a 0-hour contract at the time. And I was like, right, this is my first little thing. I'm at working at the British Film Institute. This is it. This is going to open up all the doors. It doesn't. I ended up doing that for 4 years on and off, working a 0-hour contract. And I landed an internship at BAFTA, which was amazing. I really got to see all that stuff, thinking, okay, this is it. This is my like way in. And it was only when I landed an interview for an internship at a big company called Shared Media that in that interview, at the end of the interview, they said, we're not going to give you the internship, we're going to give you a job. And it was £275 a week, for 3 days a week. working as a runner at a very small production company that did comedy. And that was my first foot in the door. It was that moment. I really remember being like, I've made it. And funnily enough, that building was opposite ITN Productions. And I remember going for my internship, watching Jon Snow, who was a broadcaster at the time, walking into ITN Productions and saying, one day I'm going to work there. And now I'm there.
Wow.
So I love that. I love that. It is a hard graft getting in. And like, even now, you know, we're a big advocate for paid internships. But when I started, like, that wasn't a thing. You
I
know?
think it's illegal now.
Yeah, as
Do
it should
unpaid,
be. But, you know, it's so difficult. If you don't have those connections, you're just expected to work for free until someone fancies paying you.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
also,
it's just
how many
like-
offices have you been into where the person who's doing the internship has the same surname as an exec producer in the company? You don't even have to ask, is that someone's kid? It's so obvious. And that happens all the time. And we're all supposed to be like, oh, cool, great, yeah. Rather than be like, hey, this isn't fair. Your kid can get an internship elsewhere, not at the company you work. That is wrong.
Nepotism.
Yeah, nepotism is rife in our industry. Going from being a runner essentially to what you do now, you know, what was that career journey like, you know?
Yeah, so when I started, I wanted to make documentaries because that's kind of what I was doing essentially at home, just recording family and friends, and that felt like real life always really interested me. And when I got a job, I got it at like a comedy company making a sketch comedy drama, and I was like, no, this isn't for me. This is really like male. This is really white. The whole company was white male, and I didn't see a place for me in any of that. And I was like, I want to be a documentary maker, you know. And in that same building, Stacey Dooley was working, and so I'd see her in the kitchen, and I'd be like, Stacey Dooley's here, and get really excited about it and think like, yeah, like what Stacey Dooley does, what that production company arm does within the big shed conglomerate. I was like, that's interesting. I'd like to go there. And I was just really honest with my boss, who I love, because he was like, you know, maybe this isn't for you, and I was like, yeah, I don't think it is. Like, this is what I want to do. And he had a contact who was setting up a current affairs program at the BBC and was like, I'm going to put your name forward for an interview there. Really kind thing to do, because he was having, you know, he was looking after me and definitely mentored me. Shout out Howard Cohen, because he really did help me there. And he got me an interview. And in the interview, they were like, we are going to call your reference, who's Howard. And if he's into it, like, we'll give it to you. Like, they told me that.
Wow.
And Howard was like, obviously you're going to get it, don't worry. And then I ended up going to work on production after production in current affairs, debate shows, documentaries, kind of trying to bring my way up, going from runner to researcher. I was a researcher for a long time, then I finally got an AP job, and then I was an AP for a long time, and then I got this producing job because the producer on a production I was working on, which was a short form series for BBC Three, he left and he said, you should just take over. And I got lucky, right place, right time scenario. And then from then it was just like producing jobs that were just really fun. And I loved all that, jumping freelance from thing to thing. And I remember lying in bed one day and I got an email from someone who had seen me on set, actually, on the BBC Three programme, who had said, I met you on set for this one thing that you did, and I really liked your kind of energy. We're hiring a head of short form for maternity cover. You should apply, and send me the application. I remember being in bed being like, oh, this is the dream. This is it. This is going to happen. It's like ITN Productions. It's going to happen. And I got the job, and I interviewed and got the job. It was a very stressful interview because it was like, it was about business winning, and I was a freelance producer. I'd never thought about money. You know, you think about your money, obviously. You think about paying your mortgage and the bits that you need to do, but you never think about how a business makes money. And it was so eye-opening, the interview, how little knowledge I had. And when they hired me, they said, you were the least experienced when it came to like how a company functions, how a business makes money. But we think that you've got some panache or whatever, so we'll give it to you. Like, they were like, this is a risk for us. They made me feel like that. You know, sometimes employers do that. Like, we're going to do this, but like, it's really risky for us.
Was it a room full of men again?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then I just got lucky because the woman who went off on maternity leave never came back. And so I got her permanent job, which just does not happen in this industry, to get a chance like that. And I have been there now for 5 years.
Wow.
And I've got a mortgage, I've managed to buy a house, I had 2 kids, and I would never have done any of that stuff without a permanent job, I don't think, because I felt there's enough insecurity in all of the industry that it's really hard to make those decisions. So, yeah.
I think that's something worth talking about is like, you know, in this industry, we're all freelance. So actually it is a lot more difficult to kind of get a mortgage, think about the future, plan holidays. Like, have you got lots of experience of that, being a freelancer?
Yeah, I mean, God, being a freelancer, trying to say yes to anybody's wedding. in
don't.
May when you're like, I don't know because I might need to work, or planning a holiday with anyone you love, or hen do anything. All of those kind of communal moments with your family, even having to let people down, driving across country to do stuff when you're tired. Like it's so hardcore and it has such a toll on your personal life that at some point I think I was always going to make the decision to try and get a job somewhere, even if it meant the job was a bit more boring. And in truth, I actually think my job at ITN Productions is not as exciting as it would be if I was a freelance director or producer. And I have friends who do that now, and I'm like watching them do those things, long hours, drive places, sacrifice a lot of their own personal life to do it. And I made the safer decision. 100% I made the safer decision.
But sometimes like you value that more, don't you? Like having your family life and your home life and job security. Knowing that you're going to get paid every month.
Yeah, oh my God.
And it gives you a bit more freedom to, because I've worked both in-house and freelance, and obviously running Bridget feels like a mix of the two because it's all on me at the end of the day. But it gives you the freedom when you're in-house to work on personal projects because you just know that that money is coming in and you can clock off at 5:30 and that's fine because that's all they're paying you to do.
Exactly.
And you've got capacity then to work on other things behind the scenes. Whereas when you're freelancing, if you're not working, you're hustling to get more. And it's that like constant hamster wheel.
And then also if you're freelancing on lots of other people's productions, the space for your personal creativity suddenly gets diminished. Like it's only when you have that steady income and when you have that brain space of being like, I know what this is, it's familiar, that you can then be creative and be like I've made more short films since having that. I've like worked on other people's stuff. I've had like the headspace to help and the context and the podcast studio and like the thing, the network. I'm like, I have a building you can come and like use, and I will use that because I finally have a bit of power that I want to share.
And you've done a podcast.
Yeah. And I've done a podcast.
Brown Girls do it too, a very successful one.
Can you tell us a bit about your podcast and how that journey started as well?
Yeah, of course. So my podcast is called Brown Girls Do It Too. It's on the BBC, commissioned by the BBC. It's 6 series of a podcast. You can go and listen to it now. And interesting genesis story, really, because again, I had this kind of will and want to do a side hustle thing. So I had a podcast with a friend that we did completely amateurly, like no one paid us to do it. We just wanted to learn a bit more about audio recording because it was like we were listening to lots of American podcasts at the time. And this was like, 10 years ago, it was ages ago. We were like, okay, well, what can we do? So we were like, microphone under a duvet, just experimenting with audio. And a BBC Asian network producer listened to an episode we did about sex. And he was like, I've never heard an Asian girl talk about sex like that. Do you want to audition for this idea that I have? And I just didn't audition. I didn't audition for Brown Girls Do It Too, and I got it. And so I ended up, doing this podcast with 2 complete strangers where we walked into a room and we were like, so how many people have you slept with? And we're like, well, do I know you that well enough to tell you? I'm going to tell you. Let's just do it. And I guess because it was for the BBC Asian Network, and I don't listen to the BBC Asian Network, despite being Asian, I kind of didn't really believe that there was enough of an interest in it. So we kind of really did do it thinking no one would listen. And almost, I think that is why it was good. Because we really believed that no one was listening.
You talked like no one was listening.
Unfiltered.
Exactly. Totally unfiltered. Like the real stuff, because you're like, no one's going to listen to this.
Yeah.
And then that podcast won Podcast of the Year in 2020 at the British Podcast Awards, which was insane year to win that, and the year that everybody was like literally at home just consuming media. But I think we brought a lot of joy and silliness into people's ears and lives. And after that, I thought that is a great career ambition, just to bring some joy to people. So now 6 series in, and we did a live show, and when we were offered an opportunity to do a live show with a theatre company, we said, why would anyone come and see us just perform on stage and just speak to each other? We want to do something big. So we wrote some comedy sketches and we dance and sing. And actually, I realise now I'm returning to the root of where I started in my career. I'm back in that comedy sketch thing, but this time the room's full of brown women.
Yes, I love that. Yes,
amazing.
That's the full circle moment that we definitely need.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is great as well. Like all women since I've entered, basically, and you guys are running this. So these are the kind of rooms I wish we had at the start of my career. But thank God they're here now.
Development is a side of the industry that I don't think many people know about, because I think there is a bit of a myth that like one auteur comes up with an idea and it's a success, and but that is not how it works, right? So could you talk us through the life cycle of an idea? So like where that comes from, what is the pitching process like? How many people are signing off that that concept and yeah, the life cycle essentially.
Yeah, so my development is purely factual. So we'll be taking real life stories really and trying to add a bit of drama into them. And real life stories, the one thing you need is access. It's the most important thing. And that can be a journalist who's been working on a story for years and developing a relationship with a family who maybe had something tragic happen to them, or a big theft, or whatever the kind of story is. They've been working on that. But also, equally, you could just be a person whose brother had something crazy happen to them, and you have the story of how mad this was. Your brother went on tour with the Killers and took loads of cocaine and can tell you like the inside story of the Killers. Crazy story.
Is that true?
Is that true? I don't know. But if you're out there listening, you should probably pitch that. And then you kind of write up the idea. Well, you do talk about it. I think the one thing you always miss out about with ideas is like talking about them. Because once you vocalize your idea, you hear how crazy it sounds or how good it sounds. And then you feed off the other person's reaction where you're like, oh, they like that. This is good. Maybe I'll say it again. I'll say it again in a different way. Maybe I'll write it up. Maybe I'll design a treatment. Maybe I'll create the podcast thumbnail just so we can start to visualize this. It's almost like being a bit delulu and getting really excited about your idea and being like, I can see it on the BBC's platform, I can see Audible signing into it, I can see it, like almost that belief helps you drive your idea forward. For me, luckily, I am kind of in development, I look after the video and podcast bit. So if an idea comes to me, I sign it off and I'm the one taking it out, pitching it. I don't normally have to get much signed off at an upper level unless I'm working with like quite a famous A-list celebrity that actually everyone's got a relationship with, or somebody in-house at ITN that we want to be protective of their reputation. So, or unless I'm pitching something that's quite radical. I mean, it doesn't happen so often, but sometimes I'll pitch something that my boss might be like, let's talk about that. Like, where do you see that within the ITN brand? Because I am working there. But actually I get quite a lot of free range. But yeah, I mean, I think you should share your idea with as many people in-house before you take it outside, as many brains you can get on it, as many people reading your work, like, don't have typos in your shit, like make sure everything like looks perfect, exactly how you would want it before you send it out. And that is about utilizing your internal before you go out.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who's like got a really cool idea? Like, should they come to you and pitch it?
I think like know the market. If you're coming to me and you're saying, I've got a really good drama idea, like I'm not your guy. I make factual productions at ITN. I'd love to move into drama. I think there's so many interesting people out there, but go and find the person who's going to sell your idea the best way so that it gets commissioned. It's a lot about knowing the structures of a company and knowing the structures of commissioning. And once you know that, you'll know who sits close to whom and how you can get your idea best forward. Like if you wanted to pitch a reality TV show, we're not the company for you. We don't make it. Go and find the company that makes it. All the stuff that you watch that you like, check the end credits, find the name of the exec producer, find them on LinkedIn, ask for a coffee. And I wish I'd done more of that at the start. Coffees, just asking for them, because I say yes to every coffee.
She says yes, everyone.
You're going to get inundated now.
Actually, my creative director said you shouldn't say yes to everything. But nobody did it for me. So I feel like, and this is ridiculous because I think a lot of women take this on their shoulders, but I feel like it's my responsibility to do it. And I will do it as long as I have capacity to, for sure.
I feel that, but it's always the best people are most generous with their time. And I think like I had a really similar thing of, I had loads of mentor figures that were really generous with their time and, you know, gave me the leg up that I needed. And if I hadn't have had that, I wouldn't be anywhere. So I also feel that obligation, that like responsibility for the younger generation to give them that helping hand up too, because I think, yeah, otherwise who's going to do it?
Yeah, and absolutely, like and you don't see that many exec producers who look like me. You just don't. You don't see many commissioners who look like me. And that is obviously changing, and there are some, but it's like I've seen a lot of young ethnic minorities come into ITN Productions freelance, and they've come in and they're like still trying to figure it out, because it's really hard when you come into a big company, a big corporate company in a giant glass building and you feel like a bit out of place. And so I always try to beeline for them, and now I notice they're beelining back for me, and it's like, cool, you need to come somewhere where you feel comfortable and safe. And if I'm going to help you do that, of course, like why would I not? Because I think where I work is really lovely and I think everyone's really kind, but it doesn't look like somewhere that is, right?
Yeah.
But also like the industry doesn't have a great reputation. So if you're young and trying to get into the industry, you're like, nah, I'd rather make my stuff on TikTok and like do it all myself. And like those people don't represent me. And that's going to always be the problem. I used to be really jealous of YouTube content creators because I can shoot, I can edit, I can do all at home. And I'm like, I could have done so much of that at the time when it was all happening. But the truth is, I don't want the pressure to make all the money by myself based on like my mood for the day. Like, wow. And I am definitely not somebody, despite having a sex podcast, I'm not somebody who shares that much about my family online. Like, there's no pictures of my kids. I don't talk about my partner by name. I have some boundaries of that, but I'm so aware that actually, if I didn't, God, maybe I make a lot of money. My kids are cute. They're mixed race, you know, that stuff is bang, bang, bang. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's finding a good balance of what you think is okay. Because like, I have to be on social media now for work purposes. And I do see when you post something personal, like your numbers go up. Like, I have almost 5,000 Instagram followers and I never post on Instagram. Like, that's crazy. It's just because of the podcast, because the podcast has the community for the podcast needs somewhere to go.
How have you found that change over the span of your career? Because really, like, our jobs wouldn't have existed 10 years ago.
Yeah. So for me, when I started in telly, I wanted to work in TV. I wanted to do TV docs, Stacey Dooley. Like, it's all quite traditional, the things I was wanting. And then the more I got into development rooms and was like speaking to people about ideas and like pitching and working on productions, I realized I was watching less and less television in that traditional way. And I was like watching more YouTube. And the ratio just switched one time, and I ended up watching way more YouTube than any TV, any British TV anyway, and any factual British TV dramas. Of course, we all watched them, but I worked in factual, so I kind of needed to be watching that to like pitch it. And I wasn't watching enough of it to carry any weight in any room, because you need to know what you're doing in there. And I started to watch all this YouTube stuff, and it was just at that moment when BBC Three went digital, and we're like, we're going to take ourselves off TV and go digital. And it was just such a great time for like lots of young people who suddenly got all these incredible opportunities. Anyone who was there in that BBC Three wave, they're all doing amazing things now, because they all got a chance. They all got like, we all got promoted a little bit. We all got to like work on this like new and exciting thing. And I don't know what BBC Three's gone in terms of its like whole identity, but at that time it was really interesting and we were all making cool stuff. And yeah, that was the moment I was like, I need to just stay in digital. I need to stay in video. So then I ended up applying to Barcroft, because I was like, that's really interesting. That's like they're using their YouTube channel as a channel and like a proper channel, and they're just like making content for it as much as possible. And I became like a producer editor, and I went and like looked after a bunch of editors there working there. That was really fun. Like, yeah, you're making like 7 documentaries a week, like crazy like amount, with like loads of journalists and producers and editors, and you're just like looking after it and the churn of that. And that's when I was like, this is what I like quick, fast, and I feel like you get chances. Like, I was sent out to like direct a bunch of shorts because you know, they just needed someone to do it, and I was like, yeah, great.
What kind of budget are they giving you?
Tiny budgets,
like,
yeah, but
500 quid.
But this is the other thing. This is the other thing. Like, they were really tiny, but I would have no idea, because no one tells you anything when you're the producer and editor. No one like is transparent about budgets at all. And it's only now in the pitching seat when I look at tariffs, I'm like, sorry, how are we making that work? Like, factual short form budgets are bullshit. They're actual bullshit. You need to be at a company that's got an incredible amount of resources and backing to be able to like siphon off the cash or like use lawyers from other stuff to make it work. And I work at a big production company. Yeah. And so we use in-house resources on other stuff, you know, to make it work. But there have been budgets where I've looked at and I've been like, I have no idea how we could possibly make that work. And my production manager is a creative genius. She's always like, well, this is what we could do. We could try and figure out here. We take some money from here. We can move this. And it's like, is it worth it? And we have to have those conversations right now in the office. I mean, I'm not at work, I'm not right now, but like presently, we're like, is it worth it for us to be doing that? Where can we make the money? Where is it worth it?
Yeah, it's often, I have a few mentors that run large scale production companies, and they say, like, you know, the commercial brings in the money and the telly is for the kudos. And it basically, the commercial is funding the TV stuff, which is wild, really.
Oh my God. But now what's happening is you'll go as a production company to go and pitch to Channel 5 and you'll say, I've got this idea. And they'll be like, oh, I'm not really interested. And they'll be like, well, we've spoken to Boots and they're willing to part fund it. Or I've spoken to these people who like sell ad space and they're going to part fund it. And then Channel 5 are like, oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Oh, you bring some money with you.
You're bringing some money. Yeah. It doesn't even matter about the idea, right? Because they've got to try and get stuff made too. So it's like, that whole bit of the industry is completely transformed. Like, everything is brand funded, ad funded. Like, when was the last time you watched any drama, right, on any TV program and not spotted a very clear branded moment? You're like, oh, right, yeah.
Even Amazon Prime, you know, stopped you watching for a moment to be like, this is coming with limited interruptions. There's a little ad. It's like, still an ad. Like, don't I pay for this service already?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's an ad. And like that's scary. That is really scary. Like it's just our life now. We
It's
don't
like
even
Black
know.
Mirror style. Yeah.
You know, that whole thing
Subliminal.
of like, do you feel like you're in control of anything you purchase? Like, how are we giving people control? We're not. Like, you think you're making decisions, free will. There's
Yeah.
no free will.
Let's say we're talking to somebody who knows nothing about the industry and they're trying to get in. Like, what are the skills that you think are needed for like a producer or head of digital role, like the role that you do and the roles that you've done kind of leading up to this point?
I think you should be able to have a conversation on the phone. That is like number one skill. I feel like
Have you found that's dwindled in recent times?
I really do. I think people really struggle with being on the phone, and actually to really get access to anyone, to be a decent journalist, to find stuff that's not on the internet, you actually need to have a conversation with somebody, to get a scoop, to say something original is because you've actually had a conversation with somebody who had insider knowledge of it. So pick up the phone and get good at being on the phone. Practice with your friends, practice with your parents. Just be on the phone and ask the right questions and be a really good listener. Part of being on the phone isn't really about talking, actually. It's about listening and responding and listening and responding and then taking really detailed notes about that. So that's a skill I would say is like a very good, hard, easy skill that will help you in all measures of life, okay? We're all internet dating. I mean, I'm not right now, but when you're internet dating, you might need to call somebody on the phone and you need to be able to like feel confident with your voice or how you sound and carrying conversation. The other thing I found really useful personally, and it's because I'm a geek and because I'm really into tech, is I really like editing, recording, being really finicky, you know, figuring out what white balance is on the camera, figuring out aperture, like learning about those really hard detail skills. And it might not be your job on set. You know, in the end, you might never be a camera person, or you might never do the boom. You know, you might never take on those roles. But God, knowing how it functions, knowing how to get from my voice into an edit, into getting it like you know, mastered and then put on a video track, like just knowing how that functions for me is so exciting, because it's like I feel like I'm one of those people when I see something I'm like, I wonder how that was made, and in my head does that thing where I like try to open up all the parts of it and I'm like, is it glue? How is it stuck together? Who put it there? Is that iron? What's that? And then because I'm a total dickhead, I'll be like, I wonder if I could do that, because everything in my head I'm like, I wonder if I could figure it out. And that's like the industry. Every time I watch something on TV I'm like, how did they do that? Could I do that? How would I do that? Obviously, mad shit. I'm like, CGI, could I do that?
I mean, you could if you did a course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think like learning hard skills like that just feels really fun. Breaking down all the things that you like. I remember when I first started in documentaries, one thing, when Netflix was like booming with those documentaries that were quite formatted and everyone loved. I think it was like Don't Fuck with Cats was like one of the early ones. Do you remember? And I remember taking Don't Fuck with Cats, ripping it from Netflix and laying it down on an edit and looking at like where the cuts were, at what pace and change something happens. When would they introduce a secondary character? And it's like just learning the mechanics of storytelling. And then that becomes really useful to you, you know, and not storytelling isn't all formulaic. And actually Don't Fuck with Cats was really original at the time until they returned to that format over and over again. But once you like figure out what they're doing, it doesn't feel scary anymore. And then you're like, these are just people making, like literally putting a picture and audio together. And once you know that, it feels really freeing.
And as you say, like being a producer, your job really is to like manage everybody, you know, talk to everyone, and having a base knowledge of all of those roles is really useful because you can talk to a soundie and at a base level understand what they're doing. And then it also, you know, for budgetary things, it's really helpful because you know how much goes into each part of the chain, and you know how much things cost, and you know how long things are going to take. And it just means that, you know, people can't pull the wool over your eyes as much.
And it gives you a real respect and love for the industry and the people you work with, because you're like, what you do is really skilled and you're very talented, and we're very lucky that you're here, and come on, let's support each other. I've worked on sets before where I've had like senior DOPs shout at people, and I completely respected that person as like an artist and a worker, but I would never work with them again. Like, just it's so not the way to treat people, because he didn't understand what my role was. He hadn't taken the time to thought about what I was bringing to the table, so he didn't care.
Do I know this DOP?
Oh wow. Yes, you know the story of the very awful director man who, yes. I was Charlotte and I worked at a company. I was very excited. There was a new person who came into the company, and I felt like he was really going to give me a chance because he was very kind to me on his first half of his day. And
Oh, only the
Charlotte
half.
was just better at like instinctively thinking, nah, I'm not sure about him.
I called it straight away.
She was just like, no.
She's good at that. Good at
Yeah.
spotting
And then I was
dickheads.
on set with him and we were shooting a little street scene with one camera and we were looking for somewhere to shoot. And I was like, what about here? This could be like a really interesting place here. And then maybe we could shoot it like through this like pillar gap. So it was like a bit of interruption on screen. And he turned around and in front of everyone was like, don't you ever fucking speak. Don't you ever fucking direct on set when I'm here. And I was like, okay, cool.
You're like,
Cool,
"Ah,
cool, bro.
dickhead."
Yeah. I'll just do the forms then, or whatever I was like asked to do.
Oh, that's
Get
awful.
the release form
That's
signed.
really awful.
Yeah.
But again, like that's such a destructive culture. Hopefully certainly that's never happening on a Bridget set. You'd be kicked off.
Greatly not.
But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I set Bridget up, because I just selfishly, I wanted somewhere nice to work with nice people and who came from lots of different backgrounds and whose ideas would be listened to and supported and not, when we started kind of shat on and be told to be quiet, make the tea.
Yeah. And like, I do think things have massively changed, but I still find like there is a certain type of person who wins a BAFTA. And like, I mean, I think that's actually down to those awarding bodies to really sort out their own prejudices and like what they do is a big issue. But it's only when you win those awards for the kudos, as you were saying, then more business comes your way.
Yeah.
I often think with those like big awards shows, it's like, how much does it really mean? Because how have you got to that position? You know, like how many other people have been ignored? It's like there's only a specific type of person in the room often. Maybe there's like, you know, people that clawed their way in there, like maybe there's a couple of those people, but the rest of them, it's like, you know, it's because they know people, there's nepotism, there's
Yeah, and like that story came out recently about the Oscars, and it was saying now it's going to be compulsory for the Oscar viewing team to watch. Now it's going to be compulsory. So they've like not been actually watching the whole thing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's crazy. And yeah, you think like, well, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is your job?
5 minutes
What
of
are
the
you
one
doing?
that you thought had a good height.
Yeah.
No.
Unreal. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's all corrupt, isn't it? Because when they're saying about like Honora had spent like a crazy amount of marketing budget to like woo some of the people.
Yeah, exactly. Really, what should happen is that the public should vote. And that those should be like the really prestigious awards, because if you're getting the world to vote on your film, then that really shows that it really was great.
Yeah, and it's really cool when something becomes like a runaway international, unexpected, interesting thing. Like Adolescence was a really interesting one from this year, right? Where globally that did really well on Netflix. You know, British cast, British writer, and they probably didn't think it was going to do as well as it did.
Yeah, that kind of leads us on to a question of, if you could change something about the industry, what would it be?
Well, that's interesting. I think a lot of pitching should be done blind. And then if the commissioner likes your work, but they don't know you and they don't trust you, and they've got their boss on their back and it's a big risk, they should be able to attach you to a production company that they do trust. But I think pitching as an independent person should be done a bit blindly. So a commissioner should just say, I've got this much money for this slot, or this much money for this podcast, and anyone can pitch. And I won't know your names, I won't know where you're from. It's just purely on the idea. So I think a lot of people in our industry try to say things like, well, it's such a pure method where we pitch an idea. It's like, it's not. It's not. You're only even in the room pitching because you've come up a certain way and somebody's trusted you to be there. And a lot of the times it's like everyone's like fighting over who owns the idea. When the commissioner starts to like it, it's like, well, did I have it? Did you have it? It's like all of that mess. And it would just be done if it was like, we're going in, I've got 10 ideas here and I'm going to commission one of them right now, and then take it and just have to put in the punt. And if you like, I don't even know who you are, but this is a really cool idea and I don't trust you. I'm looking at your CV. I don't think you can make this, but I know somebody who could. And then that would foster a bit more collaboration, because instead of this thing that's happening a lot with journalists right now in documentaries is, you know, they're developing a relationship with a family, and the family's been told by another journalist, oh, I've got it in with Netflix, so like, don't speak to them. It's like, well, like, why are we doing that? Because some of these people are like victims of like very harrowing stories. They don't need lots of journalists coming to them. It needs to feel like a bit more neutral and collect. But it's cutthroat out there right now.
Would you say that you've faced and I know the answer's going to be yes, but would you say that you faced any challenges within your career, and like what are they?
Yeah, massively. Like the industry is challenging, and I don't know how many other industries have the same problem of like actually even just getting in and then staying in. Like both of those two things are hard. I've been in so many rooms where there is the same type of person dominating the room, and because I'm a brown woman, I find it really difficult to constantly be like, white men are the problem, because they're not the problem. It's like the structures. We're all the problem, essentially, and we need to figure out a way to keep the white men here. I love lots of white men. I'm with a white man, but it's about kind of letting those people also understand the power dynamics and helping everyone out. And I've just been in lots of really awkward, hairy places and heard really awful stuff, especially in factual television, where you're working with real people and real stories. And it's those moments where people are like, something gory happens in someone's life and it's like, oh, that's great TV. It's that like total disconnect that people have sometimes of realizing that the stuff you want to make about people is because you like people. You don't want people to go through something bad. You're trying to tell their story and you're trying to like, you know, help them. I think that's really murky. But also just like, you know, casual racism, so much casual sexism. I feel like it's died down a bit more, but that's only because I have now climbed up the hierarchy to a point where people know that they can't say that shit in front of me. They might say it in another meeting room next door to me where I'm not there, but like they just know that I will call it out. And I call it out with my boss, you know. My boss has come to rely on me to talk to me about some stuff that he's like, I don't know if this is okay, but this is what I'm thinking. And then I'll be like, cool, maybe let's find the right language to say that that's like doesn't feel inappropriate or feels like a bit more nuanced, because some of the things that you're saying are really valid, but you've got to find the way to say it to make everyone in the room feel comfortable. So yeah, I still think we have a long way to go. But I'm really excited that like I get to be part of that conversation and like help shape how we talk about race and gender and all of those things.
Yeah, and as you say, now you're at a place where you can kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
And you've got people underneath you and now they're looking
the head of
at you.
diversity
got
loves
power.
hanging out with me. Yeah, totally. Like I think like, and also if you stay at a company for long enough, you know all of those people from HR, you know everyone. Those people stay. So you're like, okay, well, this now needs to change, or we need to rewrite this policy. And like, God, ITN's such a good company in terms of like committees and like, you know, helping people figure out what's going to make them happy at work, because yeah, I mean, you know, everyone says like happy wife, happy life. And I genuinely think like happy co-workers, happy life. Yeah. Like if you're working with people who are happy to be there and excited to be there, your days go by quick.
Yep. And we spend so much time at work, you know, you want to enjoy what you're doing for sure.
And I think you get a much better result out of people that are just enjoying their job, right?
Having a nice experience, totally. We always end with a pit versus peak. So your lowest career moment or your like biggest challenge, and then the highest career moment, your most like special memory or biggest achievement.
Yeah, okay. So the pit would be when I was working at a production company as a runner and we made game shows, and I had to go and get all the stuff for the game show run through that we were doing, which is where you just set it up and then you just try the game over and over again. And it was hosted by Vernon Kay, who was a very lovely man. He was not the pit of it. He was very nice. But one of the challenges was that we had to break eggs like with our heads on a table. I mean, not we, people did it. And my job was to like clean the eggs and get new eggs and put them out. And it was just like a relentless day of doing that with all these contestants coming in and out. And I was like, is this really what I wanted to do? Like, is this like, am I happy? And I was just being like, this might just be like just the worst thing that I could be doing with my time. I much preferred working in the biscuit factory over cleaning eggs. I was like, no, thank you. And then a peak. There's been so many cool peaks. Like I've been really lucky, and like lots of stuff I've done has been like nominated for an award or won an award, or like I've been at places where things got recommissioned and commissioned again, and I feel really lucky that I have gotten business and have managed to sustain a career. But I think for me the peak was winning a Mind Media Award for a film I made called Things Not to Say to Someone with Schizophrenia, because it was the first time me directing and shooting something, and I shot it overexposed. So it didn't look very good. It was overexposed, and I learned in post how to make adjustments to it so it didn't look so overexposed. And I was so obsessed with what the film looked like, I had like lost the value of the content of it and been like, this is a really interesting film where I interviewed like 8 people with schizophrenia in like a really controlled environment, just me and another person that I was in charge of. and it won the Mind Media Award for Best Short Form Film that year. And I remember coming back into the office, and I was working at Mentor at the time, and the MD said, no awards will mean as much as that. Like, they are now using that video in like educational places for schizophrenia to like teach people. And I was like, yeah, you're right, that is like huge. And this was ages ago. This was like right at the start of my career, well, in the middle of the career really. And I still look back at that moment and think like, I didn't appreciate at the time how meaningful it was, and it's only with time I was like, yeah, that was probably one of the best things I've done.
Incredible.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I feel like this has been brilliant. It's so insightful for people as well. Really insightful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Always a pleasure. I just wondered, did you want to plug your...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I would love to do some
live
plugging.
performance.
Yes. So we are doing a sketch comedy show. As I said, I've returned to the start of my career to do funny jokes live on stage. We'll be in Soho Theatre Walthamstow in September for 1 week, if anyone's around to come and see that. Big new venue, which is very exciting. And if you're up in Edinburgh, we'll be at Edinburgh at the Cowbelly Audubon every day at 4:00.
Amazing. Oh, so exciting.
Well, we are coming to see you.
We are coming. We've got tickets.
Oh, that'd be great. Wonderful.
I love Rubina. I just love her. She's
Me
just...
too.
She's got so much energy. She's so interesting. And you can tell that
So intelligent.
so intelligent. You can tell her mind is just constantly whirring and constantly thinking of kind of the intricacies of things.
And her career journey is just, fascinating. Like, she's done it. Yeah, it seems like, and it sounds like, and she has done so many different things. And she's also super like proactive and kind of gets stuff done. And like, you know, she has these ideas and gets out there and just does it.
Yeah, she's a big advocate for doing it. Do it yourself if you can. And I think, no one's going to advocate your idea better than you. So you'd have to do it. You know, don't wait for someone to give you the opportunity. Go out and see what you can do yourself. Which is really good.
I also thoroughly enjoyed the egg cracking story. So.
I feel like we've all had moments in our careers where we've been like, is this what I was working towards? Is cleaning up egg the dream?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when people are like, it must be so glamorous, you're working in TV. Oh my
Cut to
God.
cleaning egg off a desk 12 times a day. Oh, God.
But on a more serious note, what she was saying about, you know, being in the room and being the only brown girl in the room and having to kind of push and fight for change, you know, that's still ongoing. And that's something that really we need to change in the industry in a big way at the top level too, not just, you know, the entry level people coming in.
Exactly. Yeah. Big advocates for change, and, you know, hopefully it will happen in the not too distant future.
Yeah, hopefully. Now Rubina's at the helm.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening to this episode of On-Set Secrets. As always, if you enjoyed it, then please, please, please subscribe and give us a comment and a like and a share with your friends if you think they'll enjoy it. And if you want to see a certain role on On-Set Secrets that you haven't seen, just drop us a DM and we will get that person in.
Get them in, yeah. Give us your suggestions.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.